Hello guys, it's Bulldog here. Welcome back to another video. As the title and thumbnail imply, this is my take on the whole Overwatch vs Paladins issue. I know it's been over a year or so since the issue arose, and it's way too late to jump on the bandwagon since everyone is now onto the Battle Royale hype train. But I just have to give out my opinions, which I believe to be the most honest and truthful they are. Many people have also had their opinions on this subject, but let's be honest here, most of them aren't that sincere. For example, Josino, where he chose to prefer Paladins, and where it is to be expected as his entire channel was built around the rise of Paladins and he's one of the featured creators of Hi-Res, so he couldn't just turn his back on his fans, as well as Randy, where he went all high and mighty to tell his viewers that they shouldn't compare games with each other and just have fun with whatever you choose. And let's be honest here, if he had been forced to choose, he would have picked Paladins as well since he's one of the developers. I'm not saying these individuals chose Paladins while having Overwatch in their minds because they wanted money. It's just that they were biased. And don't take me wrong, I love these guys. They are super cool and whom I've always wanted to make friends with. It's just that Paladins is their child, okay? They grew with it, it affected them as much as they affected the game. So even if your child is objectively not as smart or as athletic as others, you still love them no matter what, and they were not wrong in any way to do so. It's just not the case of these two, but for most of the comparison videos out there, regardless of which side they chose, since it depended heavily on what their channels are based on. And most of us don't have time to invest into both games and have to pick one over another, so I believe this is the only non-biased comparison out there. Let's just get it over with. Paladins has been officially the first game community that I've ever invested in, and as much as I love the game, my answer will have to go to Overwatch. Before you click off the video, let me tell you my honest opinions. Firstly, let's talk about gameplay. At the core, Paladins gameplay is a lot better. With the talents and loadout system, it is super fun to mess around with different builds for different champions, so that your victor is not the same as everyone else's. The feeling of winning over someone with the same champion just because your loadout and talent were more suited for the situation is indescribable. Also, the fact that you can't change champions once already selected makes the game a lot harder, which can be bad and good, and which I will discuss later on. As in ranked, the pick and ban system makes it much more competitive than Overwatch could ever dream of. But speaking of rank, talents aren't really as fun to play as they are in casual, because only about 1 to 2 talents are actually practical and you will be called out whenever you make the wrong choice, limiting the customizability. And about Overwatch, the gameplay feels lacking at the core, with only about 6 to 7 practical heroes, making rank extremely not fun to play as most matches are mirrored. Keep in mind, this video was made before the new hitscan update, so I do not know how much this will affect the game, but the idea that you can change heroes at any time makes quick play extremely fun and relaxing, in contrast to Paladins where sometimes you just feel trapped with one wrongly picked champion, or there's no way you can switch off of it, which in my honest opinion, it's just not fun if you want to relax and have a casual game. As for the flesh of the game goes, it is undoubtedly, objectively, that Overwatch triumphs over Paladins. It's fair to assume so, since considering that Blizzard is made out of money, and they can just pour all of it into graphical and bug fixing developments. But I have to give credits to Paladins maps because they are subjectively better than Overwatch's. The main key point is that they are flank routes which can be accessed by every champion, which opens to more gameplay variety, as in Overwatch, where only certain heroes can use the flank routes. Like you sometimes see a flanking series in Paladins and still rocks, but it is as rare as Bigfoot to see a flanking Mercy without her being killed while trying to flank behind the enemy team. But besides from that, Overwatch gameplay just feels more complete with actual hitboxes and not a burst-sized box hitbox that Paladins has, which is super frustrating in certain situations and lowers the skill gap needed for new players. Next, it's about character design, which Overwatch, in my opinion, also takes the win, since Overwatch pours much more time into designing heroes, making every hero feels different to play, whereas in Paladins, most of the champions are the same. Like, can you tell me the difference between Victor, Tyra, and Vivian in terms of practicality and playability? Paladins used to just dump out champions every 2 weeks in the past, which dramatically reduced the champion overall quality. In terms of cosmetic, I would say both games are on par with each other, with super cool skins as well as ridiculously ugly skins exist in both games, and all non-exclusive skins are obtainable for both games, where Overwatch is through credits and loot boxes, and Paladins is through crystal, which is still grindable with the weekly login. Next to final is the price, which some of you will say Overwatch we have to pay to play and stuff, but Overwatch goes on sale like every Sunday, okay? With events such as Black Friday, Christmas, New Year. It is super easy to get the game with only $20, whereas in Paladins, while disguising as a free game, the grind for over 40 champions as well as their respective voice packs is merely impossible, as they just changed the voice pack's currency from gold to crystal. So you most likely have to resort to buying the champion pack, which also had an increase in price from $20 to $30. But you're not forced to buy the voice packs or every champion, so I will not make a comparison on this aspect. But keep in mind that if you do want to have access to every champion and voice pack as you do in Overwatch, it will be more expensive to buy the champion pack than to buy the actual Overwatch game. Finally, is the developers, because if you want a game to success, the developers have to be, good. And Overwatch takes the dub here, since Paladins developers are such scumbags. Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm not talking about any individual dev, but the company as a whole. And Cyberbolt make a pretty good video touching on this subject. I will link it in the description below, but long story short, OB64. They completely turned their backs against their devoted players. They publicly executed the game, which they were both the executioner and the victim. And they only returned the game to its normal state when the outcry was just too much and the game was on the verge of dying. And during that time, all they did was crying on Twitter about everyone's criticism and did not give a shit about anyone. Sorry for my language. And they stay super committed to Cards Unbound and ultimately turn back on their own word. So let's see how long they can keep their promise this time. But it's not a video about telling what kind of a money-hungry scum Hi-Res is, so let's just keep it at that. I know Blizzard also have things to say here and there, but overall they just seem that they do care more about the players since they make way too much money already. So overall, Overwatch is both subjectively and objectively a better game than Paladins. But it does not mean Paladins is completely bad. It is still a fun game, and I do recommend any of you to try the game out when you are overwhelmed or just tired of playing Overwatch over a long period of time. But keep in mind, do not spend any money on Paladins, because for Overwatch, you just pay once and they are done. But Hi-Res just can't be satisfied. They will always come up with more idiotic ways to crank out money from your pocket, and they just will never stop, considering how much influence Tencent has over them, which is the topic I may touch on in another video. So basically, Paladin is like alcohol. You can use it every once in a while, but just don't invest anything in it and focus on the healthy one. Play Overwatch. And that's the end of my video. I hope you guys like it, and I will see you in another one. Peace!